Hi, I'm Tam McManus. Welcome to the Footballers Football Show. Joining me today are Ryan McGowan, Scott Allen and our special guest, Gary Harkins. Gary, I'm just looking at the teams on this bit of paper here. Unbelievably, you seem to have more clubs than me, 20 clubs, permanent alone. You've got to respect the hustle. You've got to respect that, the payoffs.
Me and you played for a few clubs as well.
Did I? And Gary's eclipsed the 3 years, but just starting, obviously Gary, you started at Celtic as a kid, but then you went to Blackburn Rovers. How did that move come about?
So I was at Celtic up until I was 16. I just thinking, speaking to my dad, probably wasn't going to make it at Celtic. I thought best chance is to leave and go down to England. Get scouted by a guy called John McKenna, who I'm still speaking with today. A great guy. He was in it. He's still doing it. He's about 80 years old and still scouting for Blackburn. Not Blackburn. I think there's been a few other teams in there by then. He obviously never done well since I made 0 appearances for Blackburn.
Even at 16, it's a big decision to walk away from a team who obviously you grew up supporting and that, and saying, listen, I'm going to go down to...
Just out as a Celtic fan then, I think you're just out.
I've outed myself in that before. So I had went down for a week on trial, and like you were getting in 6 bowling greens to train on, a gym to yourself, a swimming pool, a chef for you at 16 years old, whereas when I was at Celtic, it was just starting their academy. We never had a place to go, so you were getting a bus to St Aloysius to train on rugby pitch. Could have been jumpers for goalposts, or if you were lucky there was poles. So just the difference in that at the time, I thought the best bet for me was to move down to England.
And who was the manager at Blackburn at the point?
It was Souness. First manager I had down there was Souness.
You had 3 loan spells, Huddersfield, Bury and Blackpool. You know, Huddersfield, big club, Blackpool obviously a big club as well. How did that shape your career? Those loan spells?
Well, my first, obviously I'd been in at Blackburn I think for 3 years, so getting used to that. My first loan spell was Huddersfield, who were a big club. They were going for League 2 at the time, and I think my first training session, you're going to get changed, and it was porta cabins. And it was that kind of realities hit back again. You're going in, it was like proper footballers, proper men, and it was just a bit of a wake-up call for me, I think, at 18. The Bury one, again, same type of thing. It was out playing football. I think I played 5 or 6 games, but it was completely different from my Huddersfield spell where they were going for the league. You were actually up against it. And that was, for a player like me who fancied himself as a bit of a footballer, it was not enjoyable.
How did the boys in the sort of clubs take to you in terms of we all know the kind of football player you were, some serious ability, and obviously going down there, I'd imagine you step on the training pitch and believe you're the best player there, which is...
I think at that point I was playing like defensive midfield and centre half. So
you were playing centre half?
I was playing centre half. So I went on loan to these teams.
Nothing's wrong with centre half.
A wee bit more ability than Gowser.
It's when you go down, like you go down there and you get a coach that tells you this is how you're going to make it. You're going to be a defensive midfielder, give it to the people that can play, or you're going to be a defender. Just
wow.
And that was the exact words that I got from my under 18s coach, was give it to the people that can play. And I was sitting thinking at the time, I can fucking play. Do you know what I mean? So going into these lower league clubs, and I found it difficult as a young boy to go down and like adapt to that. I remember we played against Torquay away from home, and I'm playing centre half against a guy called Lee Thorpe, and the ball was just every time they kicked it was there, and he comes across me every time, elbow at the head. I must have looked $1 million after that game. It was just a completely different game from what I was used to.
I could never imagine you playing centre back against like a Torquay. Is that scarier when you actually think about that?
So obviously you left Blackburn and you went to Grimsby Town, but were you still a centre half at Grimsby Town? When did you transition?
Were you going as a centre half? Was that?
They signed me as a centre half. But at Grimsby I played most of my games in centre mid.
Right.
But that place is just horrible.
How did that happen? Is like
obviously I was at
mid 10.
When I come back up the road to Partick Thistle, I had Ian McCall as my manager, who'd signed me as a centre midfielder, but then at the start we had a few injuries at centre half, so I ended up playing centre half. And the way I got myself out of that was to try to do some sort of silly flick and nutmeg Offion at Hamilton.
Aye.
So I tried to meg him about 20 yards out from my own goal at centre half, and he took it off me and just stroked it into the corner. So that was my last game at centre half.
So that was basically, so Grimsby obviously Partick Thistle, you worked under Colley, who we all know is a really good manager. How did you get on that was your first spell. Obviously, you did another spell at Partick Thistle, but how did you adapt to going and play under Ian McCall?
My first spell, he was brilliant for me. Aye. He was the one that pushed me forward into that kind of number 10 role. And if you've played under Collie, like see, he's my man manager and he's like, getting the best out of what he's got. He was brilliant for me. He made me feel a million bucks not going onto the pitch, and it was basically telling the rest of the boys give him the ball and whatever else, and I loved it. Massive confidence boost, and you're going into games thinking, no, you're right, I'm the best player. Like, give me the ball and I'll show you. And there was never any. Like, I could lose the ball 105 times if I scored with 106, or if I set a goal up with 106, it was brilliant. You're the best player in the world again.
It's difficult to get managers like that because a lot of managers would hook you, if you're having a stinker or having a bad game. But obviously McCall had that much belief in you that you were right. Did you have something like that, Scott, as well? Did you have managers like that who would just let you go and play?
At the clubs, I would say that I've obviously spoken about it before. When I went to Hibs, I felt the fans kind of gave me that, so that I could give away 4 or 5 trying that killer pass, but it wouldn't be boos and all the usual stuff. It kind of goes with other places. They kind of trusted that it'd only take one moment to kind of create a goal, and that's, I'd say, not in terms of managers, but more in terms of the actual environment. And Hibs kind of gave me that platform where you could make mistakes and they would trust you.
That's unusual because obviously I was at Hibs for a long time as well. The only player I could remember that Hibs fans would do that with was Russell Hatate. It's similar, he would give the ball away 3 or 4 times. There was never any boos. Well, other players, the fans were on them right away.
Some fans just like the aesthetically pleasing ones, you know what I mean, Tim?
You guys, have you
I've never had anyone. I've never had that situation happen ever. I'm the one that has to give it to the good players.
Clear your lines.
The ones that pass it to Scott or to Gary and let them go and win you the game. But yeah, I do think that Hibs, to a certain extent, have that sort of, I don't know if it's mindset or just wanted to play that sort of flary football. But I remember watching you, and the fans would kind of give those types of players, I think, a little bit more leeway, whereas there's other clubs that doesn't kind of happen, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. And obviously Gary, you played against Gary in your first game for United. How did that go?
It was a tough game. So I must have been 17 or 18, and you guys were flying at the time, weren't you?
I think we were. Aye.
And I remember playing centre mid, and I thought first 5-10 minutes I'm going to lay one on the big fella, and he thought I was coming from the blind side, and he just flicked it straight through my legs, went out the other side and diag, and I just remember thinking, oh, I'm fucking miles off this. When you just start in the game,
you come in for about 5
yards. I thought no way he's going to see me. I'm going to smash him. Get the crowd going, and I think it was 2-2 that night.
2-2.
Yeah, I scored, and Steve-O tried to take it off me. Ryan Stevenson tried to steal it off me. But yeah, I remember just playing against him. We've got a few times that year because we got him in the Scottish Cup as well. So very good player on his day.
How would you describe yourself? Enigma, maverick, or a cult hero?
None of the above, I don't think. I'd say, like, once I got to Partick Thistle, Grimsby year was one that I'd try to chuck football after it. It was that bad.
Aye, just a bad experience.
I'd still had a year left my deal. I'd phoned the manager down there and said, there's not a chance I'm coming back. Ended up, he said fine, went back up the road.
Did you just hate the whole place, or did you hate the team, the way they played?
I just hated everything about it.
Aye.
Didn't go on well with the manager at all. And as a young boy, you're in a place called Grimsby, and it was just, it wasn't good. So I came back up the road and I decided at Partick Thistle that I'm just going to play whatever way I enjoy playing, and see where it takes me. And
Ian McCall signed you?
Ian McCall signed me, even though I think I did pre-season training. I was in for a week pre-season training, and I'm pretty sure Jimmy Gibson, remember Jimmy Gibson? I'm pretty sure he lapped me in one of the races.
You're not a fan of the run?
Oh my God, especially then, that was tough going. But I played to enjoy. I played to enjoy football, and I did for most of it.
See, I think that's an interesting point, isn't it? Like how one club, one environment, especially a player like Gary, can make you question genuinely playing the game again, because you love the kind of pure way about it. As soon as you don't get that, it can proper get you down. Do you know what I mean? There's no.
Well, I had a similar experience. I went down for Hibs to Boston United.
It's not far away from Grimsby.
I think they're quite close. Boston was just a wee town as well. It wasn't the best. Apologies to anybody from Boston that's watching, but it just wasn't a nice place. And I was only a young boy, and again, I come back to Hibs, and I was so glad to get back to Hibs. It was unbelievable. I think I cut my loan spell short, and Steve Evans was in my.
Oh, Steve, we played against Boston. Jason Lee was playing up front.
Aye.
Absolute head case, that guy.
Aye, Jason Lee. I remember he nearly battered me my first day, because you remember the skip with the pineapple. You remember?
Aye, you've got a pineapple on your head.
A pineapple on your head. So Paul Gascoine was there at the time as well, boss, which is one of the reasons I went down. And Gaza says, go and say to Big Jason.
You played in the same team as Gaza?
Aye, he was at Boston United when I was there. And he said,
quiet.
He said, go and call Big Jason Pineapple. He'd never first day. And I said, how you doing, Big Pineapple? He'd got me in a headlock, mate. I thought he was going to choke me out.
He was a lunatic.
Never call me that again. He hated getting called it. I seen Gaza just laughing in the background. I get killed. But I get where you're coming from. It can sour your experience, and I had that as well. But did you not like the place at all? Just be homesick? You want to come back up the road at that point?
Had I went anywhere else, like, you could have put me in a ship anywhere and I'd have went. Like, honestly, just hated it. Like, I think it was part of the environment of being in the club with the manager the way he was with you, and then the football, you weren't playing most of the weeks, you're turning up or you're running on your own, do you know what I mean? It was just horrible. So I was glad to get away from there, and thankfully McCall took a chance on me and I kicked on a bit from there.
You did obviously a really good spell at Partick, Thistle, and then you went to Dundee. Round about that time was that the period when Dundee were in financial trouble?
So it started. Aye, so that was my second season. Aye, my second season there. We went into admin, got 25 points deducted, and that was probably the best dressing room and best part of my career. That time, it was amazing. Just the way
up as well, didn't it?
Aye, everybody gripped together, and it was brilliant.
How was that? Obviously, I've been in situations as well where you're not getting paid and stuff like that. How did that affect you? You know, the guys coming in and saying,
well, I was captain at the time, so it was like when it first started.
Getting laid off and.
When it first started, it's everybody's in your ear. Look what's happening. You're going to need to do this. You're going to need to do that. So you had to go and speak to the managers. They're coming back saying I've not got a clue what's happening either. They'll not speak to us. So then I have to go and speak to a chief exec that I'm a footballer. Do you know what I mean? I'm 25 years old. I've not done this, so you're having to go and speak to them. I ended up having to tell them we couldn't go up to training and stuff. I was like, we're just going to need to come up like twice a week because we can't afford to get there.
Is that what you've done?
So like at the start, we'd play five-a-sides in Glasgow. All the boys for.
Sounds amazing.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Not getting paid, remember? It's not that amazing.
But then, obviously, administrators come in. I think about 12 or 13 of our pals get let go, and then Doddsy and Chisholm went at that time as well, and Barry Smith took over, and see that dressing room after that was brilliant.
Was there anyone at that time that like you could, you always say like your vice captain, or was there someone that was older than you, or someone that you kind of lent on, or was it just the case of learning on the job? And
learning on the job, anybody older really was released.
Right, okay.
So it was basically so there was Matt Lockwood and Rhys Weston who'd both come up that summer from England, and then you'd Gaz Irvin, who I'm really close with. He was probably the one that you would go to and be like, what are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? So but for then on, we kicked on. I think we went something like 26 games unbeaten, and just the atmosphere, the fans were amazing. It was brilliant.
Was Lee Griffiths in that team at that point?
He was until January. And then they sold him to Wolves. That was after Big Rab had him naked in the shower with an ex.
Did you tell us that story?
So we had that wasn't just for fun. It was, we had Motherwell at home in the Scottish, and we were getting beat 2 or 3-0, like battered, and Sparky gets himself sent off with someone daft, but he goes in laughing and like, smiling. So obviously Rabs get wind of this, and I'm in the dressing room, you're sitting, and obviously I'm captain, gutted that we've just been hammered in the cup, and people are bouncing at shower. Jeeves, Big Rabs get Sparky by a neck in that shower, and I just went in and looked and I was like, well, he's on his own. You seen the size of Big Rab? Aye. Not even every bit of Big Rab, just his. So I'll leave him to it, he's on his own.
Aye. Obviously a great spell at Dundee. I remember playing against you for Falkirk. I think we were 2-0 up at the Falkirk Stadium, and you come back and get a draw that day. And what was your fitness levels at that point? Were you no problem playing 90 minutes?
I could play 90 minutes, no problem my whole career. I think the person that started that was at Kilmarnock, was Kenny Shields.
Did that piss you off that people thought you was a kind of luxury player and
absolutely.
didn't work hard?
I could play 90 minutes no bother. It was just, it got to that stage, it was Kenny Shields as manager, 60 minute comes, he's got to make a choice, he's got to make a change. It's either going to be me or Dean Shields, and it's going to be me every week. So
And what they don't realise is that 10-minute period before the game finishes, it's players like that you actually need when when the game opens up a wee bit.
The game's starting to open up, that's when you're starting to get space, and then the next minute you're...
You get your second wind as well.
Aye.
Did you speak to Kenny Shields about that? Did you?
We had words after Hibs at home, I think, one game, which then ended up with me going to Dundee. So
Oh, was it?
that's what happened after that.
Who did you like playing with at that time? We'll move on to Kilmarnock. Obviously, you won the League Cup at Kilmarnock, but
Yeah.
who did you like playing with at Kilmarnock? Who was your top boys there?
Big Pasca. What a guy.
Pascali.
Aye. Let's see, if I was to ever go into management, I'd have an Italian in every team.
Aye.
Aye.
That's the one nationality I never played with.
Oh mate, it's
Is it
just
Italian?
absolutely
Maeda,
brilliant.
Played with him.
Who?
Remember Maeda? Was it Man United?
Aye.
Aye, no, he.
Good guy.
Aye, legend.
Good captain.
Aye, you would have him by your side and everything.
What made him so good?
He just had, like, he was so passionate about it, and you could see with the way he played. He wasn't brilliant at football, but he would throw into absolutely everything, and just he loved it. Do you know what I mean? Dressing room banter, everything, just loved it. Kept you together as a team. He invited me over to his house for dinner one night. His wife was over from Italy. And she cooked this 7-course meal thing that was absolutely it was top drawer, and I was like him.
Anti-pasty.
Oh, there was everything. There was anti-pasty, there was pasta, there was meats, there was all sorts happening. I'm sitting after it like Pascal, you can't eat. It was like 4% body fat, like rippling. I was like, you can't eat. No, Jeebsy, this is how we eat all the time. I was like, I would be rolling about more than I am now if it wasn't if I was eating like this.
Speaking about Kilmarnock, obviously the League Cup final, was that the semi-final against it? Did you beat us in United? Well, I've got a story about that. Did you play that game?
I didn't play no.
I was leaving to go to Rochester Rhinos. That's a big move for me to go to United. And so I'd said, Brian Reid knew this. I was going like a couple of days later, and I'd been in and out the team at United, right? So we go to the stadium.
Don't know.
It's just a made up
They're
name.
busting it. They were a big club.
I'm pretty sure that was made up.
Big club in America, but they're busting it anyway. So I'm about to go there, and so Brian Reid's Rochester Rhinos. So Big Reedies, we go to the stadium, right, and I'm thinking I'll probably not start, but go on the bench, and doesn't pull me or anything. Then he reads the team and the subs out, and I'm the 17th man. I was fuming, man. And so that night, Kilmarnock absolutely battered United. I think the goalie was Boy Cuthbert.
He was unbelievable.
Anyway, it was 1-0. I think he's won 1-0 after it.
Extra time.
I had a bit of a barn there with Big Reedy back at Troon. A couple of words with what he's changed. I wasn't really into that. My managers and all that, but I just thought he could just pull him as an experienced guy, just say, listen, you're going to Rochester Rhinos. It's a big move for you. As we know, you're left out today. But he just seemed to read the tape. I've been left out tons of times, but seemed to have done that at Hampden. I could have, honestly.
Just disrespectful, I feel.
What did you say to him?
I just said you could have pulled me and all that, and he was just like, fuck off. So it's a few words and all that. And then I got my move to Rochester Rhinos. But I remember that. And obviously the final.
Sounds like it was a right tear up.
It was a proper tear up the toilet. The final against Celtic, obviously you get into that, big underdogs. Van Toornhout pops up with a late winner. Is that one of your biggest achievements in the game, winning the League Cup with Kelly?
Apart from the staying up with Dundee that year, I think that that final, Celtic were 26 games unbeaten and they were flying, and obviously you're getting into that thinking, just try not to get a do in here.
There's not many teams beating Old Firm.
No. And Cammy Bell that day was ridiculous. I remember, remember Sissoko? Big centre-half, so the most laid-back guy on the planet. But he rolled in Hooper after about 4 minutes, and you're thinking, oh, here we go. Cammy makes a ridiculous save, makes a few more as the game goes on. But we were good. It wasn't like we just sat in that game. We actually played decent football. We had a good team. We'd had good results against.
Who was your good players in that team? Who was your?
You had Lee Johnson, Big Michael Nelson. You had
Lee Johnson.
How was Lee Johnson?
Aye. Good player.
You had Fow.
James Fowler.
Gary Hay was there. You had Hef up front. You had Dean Shields.
What again?
We had a guy, Danny Bowes, that we got for Feyenoord, who was a player, but what a guy, man. So he should never have been playing that. Obviously he was on a bonus for starting or whatever else, but his calf was gone. So done the team, trained all week, and after about 5 minutes, no, I have to go off now. After the game, it was as if he won a trophy himself, man. He was outside with his Feyenoord mates. He brought them all over, the ultras. He brought them all over. They were outside bouncing up and down with it. He was an absolute character. He's one of the best follow-ups of a manager I've ever seen as well. You're talking about your one with Ryan Reid. His one was like we had a big team meeting, and Danny's sitting. He's been injured for a while, and Kenny's come in and starts having a go at him for being injured. No. He's like, what is it? Are you a doctor? Do you know my body? And then he's lost the plot, and Kenny's still going on. He's like, what level did you play at? not this Northern Irish pish. He's like, do you know what, when you're sitting on the team meeting, it's been on for about an hour and a half already, and you're just like, this is amazing. So that was the end of that season and the end of Danny Bouse.
Was Danny invincible there as well?
No, when I was there, no. He was.
And who was in the Celtic team? Did Van Dijk play for Celtic, no?
I'm not sure if he was at that final, but you had Brown, Wanyama, Hooper, Ledley, Commons. So they were.
Who was the Celtic manager there?
It was Lennon.
Lennon.
It was Lennon, aye. So.
What was the night out at? Like?
So
celebrations, aye.
It was like the dressing room was a bit down because obviously the boy Liam Kelly's dad died at the side of the pitch, so it was quiet. Like silent, quiet, and then obviously you get back to Kilmarnock and they've put something on in the hotel and it's all the families are back. It's a great night. For there, a few of us decided that we're going to Corinthian, right. And Celtic had booked the Corinthian for their after party. So there's like 4 or 5 of us up the back getting tucked into all sorts, and they're down the front looking furious. Obviously I was disappointed as well as a big Celtic fan.
It's a win-win for you guys.
Over there condoling them. Like, sorry lads. It was funny because like quite a lot of my family and friends were in like a Celtic game, and they said it was just as funny for them because like they obviously want you to do well, but they don't want Celtic to get beat. So getting texts after it calling you all sorts for your for your cousins, isn't it? That's the great.
So you're directly up against Scott Brown that day?
So I played kind of right. He played at that Christmas tree.
Right.
So he had me at the right hand side and Dean at the left, like kind of just in behind the striker. Right. So I had like Charlie Mulgrew, Scott Brown, Wanyama kind of. I'd not made the 3 of them on the day, so I don't know.
Did you?
Somebody, I was actually talking to Gordon Parks last night and he told me, he said you need to ask Jeevesy about the cup final. How many megs
I
did you get that day? 5 megs in the cup final.
I think I got 5.
You proper playing for them as well?
That's how I played. No, it's one of them.
That makes me feel so much better about my story.
I always thought, like, see when you played against good players, like, say at like Celtic level, I can kind of think, I know what he's going to think, or he's thinking I should be doing, so then it's easier to like last minute, because they're not going to expect a wee clown for Kilmarnock to be trying to nutmeg them in the cup final. So that was just kind of how I got on with it. So I was always
said to anyone before, I'm going to try and get as much as I can. There must have been a point during the game.
Expect it, don't they?
There must have been a point during the game that
Did you shout megs?
Absolutely not. I think the meg speaks for itself. It doesn't need an announcement after it.
Did you get into that game with belief that you could beat Celtic? When did you think? Oh no, the goal was late on.
The goal was late on, aye.
Longer it was 0-0. You thought?
Aye, and I think we'd done well against them. Look, that was that the same year we drew 3 each with them at home when we were 3-0 up and Lennon was under.
That's right.
So like we'd beat Rangers, so we had belief against the good teams that we could go and win. And the longer the game was going on, you're thinking, right, we've got chances, we've got some in here. Do you know what I mean? But I think we'd had a few chances before we scored. Cammy was on his day, and you just thought it could happen. But as you said, not many people get to go up against Old Firm and come away with a medal. So.
Absolutely. I've been a couple of times. I've been beaten with Celtic in cup finals, once with Dunfermline, once with Hibs. But you're right, there's not many beats them. Have you still got your strip and your medal?
No.
Did you give it away?
I've no idea whether. My dad's got my medal somewhere, I think.
Somewhere in the background, Peter's fuming. Yeah.
My dad's got my medal. I'm pretty sure I gave the jerseys away. I don't.
Did you collect your jerseys? Did you keep your jerseys? Did you swap with anyone?
No, I'd always gave them away for if people wanted them for charity and stuff like that. So I wasn't much a jersey guy or anything like that.
Did you try and get anyone's on?
No.
Celtic boys?
No. The only time I ever did was if somebody had asked me to get it for a charity thing that was going on. But I wasn't one to be going up to people after games and saying, "Give your jersey" or whatever else. It was no.
Was that just your personality? Was that you just kind of easy going?
And I wasn't worried about it. I'd played against them and stuff. I didn't need wear jersey in my wall if they hammered me 5 or 6-0, which has happened. You know what I mean?
That's something I look back on and I think, why did I not ask him for his jersey? Against like Ronald De Boer, Arteta, Larson or something.
What are you realistically going to do?
I know, but you just think at the time, I could be playing against him. I'll play them next year, but it doesn't always work like that. You end up, if you're with me.
See, in terms of your career in Scotland,
Exactly.
how would you say that the players that you walked off the park and you went, please, top draw?
I always thought, again, as a Celtic fan, I always thought Brown was underrated. Like, as a footballer, like
He was.
he was a good footballer, and it was like, playing against a Celtic team without him in it was so much easier than playing a game against a team with him in it. McGregor, I think, has been the best midfielder in Scotland for years now. I'm trying to think. Oh, Pedro Mendes. He was. I just ran about at the same pace all night, but you just couldn't get near him, and he was a wizard. That's probably ones for Scotland that I can think of, and I think players. I think the best one I ever played against was Gerrard at Anfield for Liverpool, and
Who was that for?
for Oldham.
For Oldham?
Aye, for Oldham. And
The FA Cup game?
FA Cup game, aye, and he was a joke. Absolute joke. Like, we had the ball 60 yards without even trying. Couldn't get close to him. Was so big, and that was towards the end of his career, but he was so big and fast. His touch, everything was just done brilliant. You were like, just kind of watching him like, this guy's a player.
Aye. I loved Gerrard growing up. I thought he was a fantastic player. One of the best.
You Gerrard over Scholes and
I was Gerrard over Oldham.
It was until he went to Rangers, and I was back to.
Aye, I was the same. He was some player up to that point.
that devastating.
Aye.
It was so bad.
That's all right.
I was the same. I'd actually got my wee brother his England jersey from because my wee brother grew up like being a proper Gerrard fan.
Right.
So I'd got one of the boys at Blackburn to get Paulie's jersey, and that went missing not long after he came to Rangers. So I don't know where that's ended up.
What were you guys? Best player you played against?
Neymar. Neymar's probably the best one. I think I've said that before.
Stopped at that.
Aye.
He was, he just made me feel like an absolute idiot.
I just think it's when you wouldn't even try to get the ball off him. I'd just be like, I think I'd be 10 yards off him, and like just
the whole game. So we were playing Australia against Brazil. They came out maybe 10 minutes before kick-off. Like they were looking at us like, who are these guys? Do you know what I mean? I swear to God, they came out and we were doing a proper warm-up and trying to get all fit, and they're just looking at us, doing like around the world, just juggling it about.
What is on a stool?
6-0. Went back, yeah. And I remember
Was it in Australia?
No, it was in Brazil.
That's something. Was that a good experience?
A great night.
What a night!
That's incredible.
But yeah, like we had a boy in our team that could speak Portuguese. I was speaking to him afterwards, and they were like, "Oh no, we've got like our private jets taking us back to." They were playing for like Real Madrid and all these countries. I was at Shandong. Where are you going? I was like, "Oh,
You were getting weighed in it. You were getting weighed in at Shandong. Don't give me that. You'd have settled in Brazil rather than Grimsby.
The favelas. I don't know there instead.
See, talk about warm-ups. Do you take warm-up 100%? Are you?
When I was younger, yeah. When I was younger, I was a loser.
No.
I
I hated warming up. Like,
So did I.
I just felt as if it was taking away some of the runs that I could make in the game.
Energy, yeah.
I checked that as well.
I feel like that now.
Aye.
I feel like if I was to start,
Have you changed now?
yeah.
Do you do your own warm up now?
No, I still do it with the team, but I used to be big when I was like younger, like coming through at Hearts.
Playing it
I
like
need to
a
make sure that I'm at it, so that the first minute I'm on it.
See that first wee bit where they run in between the cones and that, like that was just a straight up jog for me. Like, and then once it came to the repossession thing and that, then I'd get going.
Start getting warmed up.
But like that first wee bit was just on it. And seeing when it got to like the end and it was a sports science with them bands and stupid wee jumps and runs, like mate, leave it out. Like just
Especially now with the GPS. Have you got the GPS at Kelty?
Aye.
Aye. Do you work during the game?
Aye.
So there's no hiding place?
No.
Have you got to get a specific? Do you bail in the games as well? You got to get a specific amount of
We
kilometres
have a
covered?
thing. We have a thing that goes up before the game of each position has to get that he wants a target to get.
That's just how you knew that.
Each position.
I would find myself just like going semi-pro, going rover, just running in circles just to get my numbers up during the game. Like it's just a waste of
He
time.
He just wants you to try and get to those numbers. It's not any like, You don't sort of fine or do anything.
I think it's a cop-out for managers and coaches now if you go in and chat their door and say, why am I not playing, or why am I, they'll just call it up. That's why you're not playing, you're not covering the ground.
Other times it's...
Davey ran an extra 3k but gave the ball away an extra 15.
That's why he ran the extra 3k, because he was chasing his passes.
Aye.
Well, that's what I hate about it. Like, I just don't agree with it at all.
You can manipulate it to any kind of...
It happens there. Even when you watch like the big games, it comes up when they're getting subbed off, how far they've run or what they've done. It's such a...
It's always lower though at the higher level.
Yeah.
Always lower numbers than probably what you get in Scottish Championship.
Yeah, especially... down Scottish Championships. You give the ball away, go back, get it back.
When I was at Thistle, coming to the end, the boys were running like 13.5k in games. And you were losing it, couldn't yourself. You're like, where have you been running to?
I remember
To the game.
The shop. Like, I'm standing in midfield myself.
for the game.
I'm in midfield myself here. You're running about at the shops.
When we were at Hibs under Jack Ross, Greg Docherty ran just under 15k in a Scottish Cup game at Alloa Athletic against BSC.
I remember that game.
And I remember it was like, oh, see what he ran it. I remember coming in.
Oh, is that a big...
And it destroyed me inside. How are you running that against? Like,
Is that something that they used to pick? Like, did you feel like you got picked on because you maybe didn't cover that distance?
No, because I liked having Dokken next to me, to be fair.
I was going to say that, if you're playing beside him, you're buzzing.
But I was more in terms of the game. We had all the ball that game, you know what I mean? I was like, how was he running that?
I don't understand that.
And it was like super praised, do you know what I mean, for the amount of distance.
How would you hand to Maeda?
Oh, what a little guy.
Against him?
Oh, I honestly love that little fella. I was texting Jack Iredale after the game the other day, and he was like saying, he's like, I can't move. He's like, it just does not stop. And I was like, no, such a wee legend. Honestly.
What do you think so special about him? I think he'll be player of the year this year.
Mate, I honestly
Just
don't.
his athleticism.
I don't think he's built the same. He's not got the same stuff as what I've got, but he's built completely
I want to know what
different.
he eats. I genuinely want to know what he eats and drinks. Because he's putting something in his body that is just...
I think Hatate's incredible.
Oh, player.
In terms of
But he has been like that. So if you look at back when Ange first signed him,
He's always
one of the reasons why was because he had the highest high-speed running in Japan,
Right.
and not just by like a little bit, by...
It's just
That's why they've got the pods on. Take
And Ange was like, the way that I want to play and the way that we want those sort of counter presses, and this is my perfect player for it. So it's not as if he's just come to Celtic and all of a sudden found a second edge. He has been doing that. I
That's
think
his
this
game.
season.
That's his game.
This season he's just got in better positions, taking his
to be fair to him, he hasn't.
Worked his game, but he's better
His game's so much better than
Rodgers has
what.
definitely brought him out of a Brendan's in training.
that final ball.
That final ball's been brilliant. His finishing's been brilliant. And if you're in his team, you must be absolutely delighted with him.
If you're a fullback playing against him, I don't...
Anybody playing against him, nobody's safe.
Just hit the space for him. You know what I mean? He get a throw in. Worst case scenario. So
You know he's going to chase absolutely everything. Like, you could put it anywhere. And if you were like yourself playing in midfield, you must be split up brilliant. Like, just feed it in behind him. He's
you don't even need to look.
You don't need. Like, that was what used to annoy me watching Celtic when you've got Kilmarnock there. Is they're that safe with the ball at times. When I'm thinking, if I'm playing in midfield and Kilmarnock's up front, I'm playing it forward every time I get it.
Stick it in behind.
His movement was ridiculous. He must have been frustrated just running about 50, 60 runs and not getting it.
We're talking about, obviously, you're retired now, but in terms of modern day football, do you think it's better now
No.
than it was?
No,
You started your career 2003, so about 20 years ago. Do you think it was better then than it is now?
I just think...
Game's changed because
Aye,
of
but
athleticism.
I think like the players now are very well drilled. They know exactly what they're doing and they do it really well. Whereas back then, you would leave a game going, what about what he did, or what about what that player did, or what about how good he is. You could watch a game now and not know MD's name because they all just do the exact same thing, but they do it well. So I preferred watching football back then compared to like nowadays robots.
Is there any Mavericks now? Do you think is there space for Gary Harkins in a team now, Scott?
No.
Well, my take on that is there always is, as long as you get the team obviously functioning round about it. When you have players that you can actually make a team through one guy playing through them. I've always kind of been a big believer in that. I just think now a lot of the time it's what you can't do instead of what you can do, and you see that up and down the country.
Is there still guys like Gary? You're obviously still playing the Championship. Is there still guys like Gary? You know, maybe
Not
kind of Maverick role playing.
Yeah, not as
You can't see
good as
the
he
risk,
was
can you?
back then. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to. Who could you pick out really that player, that bit of genius was, we would call it, where you do
You think when Messi retires, that'll be the end of that kind of player?
It's looking that way. I think that's the way the football's went. See the way, like,
So more athletic and more.
so much running and like
It might not be the
like,
player's fault, it just the game's changed, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have to adapt to then have a career in it. It's just how it is now.
to be fair, PSG looked like a team that had players like that in it. That, I'm not going to try and pronounce, but see the Georgian boy player. Like see players like him, they look as if they've still got it. All of PSG's players that still do one-on-ones, whereas I just look at people like Jack Grealish. What's happened to Jack Grealish?
He's victim of structure.
Exactly.
Like,
At Villa, he was brilliant. He would take people on. As soon as he's at City, he'll take 2 touches that way. He'll touch it back and he'll pass it back. And you're like, I couldn't. Like, I would be furious trying to play like that.
Gardo's actually robbed us of Jack Grealish. He probably has, because that obviously as Gary was saying, he was one where again he would allowed that kind of freedom to come out the structure, and that's how you can see about that one player can affect the whole team, because he made them a better side. Obviously now he's probably looking at if he'd stayed at Villa and a new Naomi team, the boy Morgan Rodgers, because he's got a bit of that in him. It's just, you go to Guardiola and it's set up for the team.
And who's the best player in the Championship? You've got Macaulay Tate in there, and that types of.
He's done well. He's done well since he's come in.
Who's the most gifted player in the Championship, you think? You've seen?
Most gifted. There's a boy Henderson that's at Ayr.
Jay Henderson,
Yeah, he's alright. I like your mate Tate.
Dylan Tate.
Falkirk.
Wee Fitzpatrick at Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
Aye, Aidan.
Aye, he should be.
Why?
Much. He was a young boy at Thistle my last time there. He ended up going down to Norwich. But ability on the ball, dribbling, could see a pass, had absolutely everything. Obviously, it's just not kind of working out for him now. But as a player, I thought he was.
I
top
think in the
draw.
Championship there's more of those types of players than the Premier League. Having played in the Premier League last year, then come down here, I think the teams are, might be speaking out of turn, but I think the teams allow those types of players because they're going to win you games.
Yes.
Whereas in the Premier League, it's more about not losing.
That type of.
Yeah, great example. I think he's a really good player and fits in race perfectly, because he's the one that's allowed to sort of roam around and play that. Almost every team has that, maybe 1 or 2 players that can play. We've got Stephen Kelly, great little player, and for us. So I think more in the Championship, we have more players that kind of have that, can go out and win you the game and allow the sort of cloggers like us at the back to
Clog.
just keep clogging.
Gaz when he was at Grimsby.
Like me. Head it and kick it,
You
mate.
still watch Celtic? Which have been a favourite
Aye, I watched
game this
Celtic.
season involving Celtic, Bayern Munich?
Oh, Bayern Munich away, aye. Again, like, as a Celtic
See
fan,
a Scottish team going and dominating the ball against a team.
dominating in like Munich. Do you know what I mean? And you're watching it just going, this is like you win this game, you're winning the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? I had my flights booked. But yeah, it's like that game was just brilliant.
Ange Postecoglou's team or Brendan Rodgers' team this year?
Watch what you say.
I loved Ange.
Big Ange's part.
I loved him. I think I would go with Brendan's team if they played like they played against Munich every week. Ange's team just were relentless. But again, it's repetitive football.
Aye.
And I think that's getting found out a bit at Tottenham.
Aye, he doesn't know how to change it.
He's not got the players to do it at that level. So I think Brendan can mix it up, whereas I think Ange is just like, that's what you're doing.
He's set in his ways. That's.
Do you think Rodgers is a better manager?
I think Rodgers has done a better job at Celtic this time than what I
You
did.
couldn't argue that. You couldn't really say that Postecoglou was a better manager than Brendan Rodgers, considering winning obviously a cup and that down at Leicester. What he'd done obviously.
Just a question, Scott.
No,
You got real defensive there.
but when you actually break it down, I know you that Australian link that you love to use with Ange Postecoglou, but I think what Brendan Rodgers has done, obviously off the back, Ange Postecoglou deserves a lot of credit himself, because I actually think he's made players better.
It's better.
I'm just looking, your favourite manager, Jeebsy. I've got Graham Souness, Mark Hughes, Jocky Scott, Jim Duffy, Kenny Shields, Paul Hartley, Barry Smith, Lee Johnson, all managers that you played under. Who's your favourite?
Probably Jocky.
Jocky Scott?
Aye, probably Jocky, aye. So
Why Jocky?
they bought me from Thistle and I went up, and obviously I'd heard that Jocky was a wee hard older guy and like old school, and he was like, but he was just brilliant with me. I remember, I think about 3 or 4 games in, like I was playing left of a front three, and I had Eddie Malone at left back. You know Eddie?
Oh, Eddie.
So I had him at left back, and honestly, I should have just called him Decoy for the season because he would just overlap me and I'd go, right, see you, right. But then on the opposite side, I wouldn't help him out at all. So I went to see Jocky after about 3 or 4 games. I was like, Jocky, listen, I feel as if I'm leaving Eddie a bit on his own. Like, I can defend if you want me. Fuck off, Jeebsy. That's what I pay him for. I pay you to do what you're doing. He's paid the subs. Like, not a problem, Jocky. Eddie, get that ball back for me, sir. So, he was brilliant, and I just thought the way he was about the place, just he was brilliant.
Was there a point in your career where you thought, I'm losing enthusiasm for the game? I'm getting a bit fed up at him. I think I've had that. Obviously, you 2 guys are still playing, but there was a time when I thought, nah, I've had enough. Was there a point in your career where you thought, nah, I can't be bothered now? I
think when I went back to Partick Thistle the second time, I think I was about 34, 35. And at that point, it was just...
And you had such a good spell the first time.
I had a good spell the first time.
And the same.
And it was one like, I'd went back, it was Kelso and Gary Caldwell were in, and I'd played with Kelso at Dundee and gone well with him, but it was getting into a tough kind of position in the league, and
He was struggling.
I was a bit older, and kind of what I thought we should be doing wasn't what they thought we should be doing, so it's in your head, you're not going to agree with what's happening. And again, I was...
Gary Caldwell,
I was old, I was sore every day. It was just like, I don't know if I could do this much longer.
And that was the point.
That was it, and it was like McCall come in at the back end of my contract there, and it was like, right, well, time to go, and I was like, listen, I'm retiring anyway. I was like, I just don't enjoy it. I ended up playing on for a wee bit longer.
You managed to get a few more signing on fees. You see here, your Gap Cairn happened, you got a few quid. And you went back to Forfar, is that because your pals?
That was Gaz. So Gaz got the manager's job and asked me to get his assistant, and if it would been MD else, I'd have told him to bolt, but it was Gaz, so we went in there for a couple of years, done really well, ended up in the playoffs, and then unfortunately they sacked Gaz the next year, and I couldn't wait to get down the road. You don't ever phone me again.
Obviously you're
like my number.
You're a Greenock boy. Was it good to go and play with Greenock Morton?
I loved it.
Obviously
loved it, aye. I was there for a year under Duffy and loved it.
Right, Jim Duffy?
Loved him.
Aye.
Just
I loved the Jim at Dundee.
Just honest.
Aye.
Like, exactly what you wanted. Like, honest with you. If you weren't playing, this is why you're not playing.
Not to be fucked about with.
Absolutely. Whatever you say, Jim.
Aye. By the way, hard as nails.
Oh, he did.
He used to walk a couple of times at Dundee.
He used to do fitness.
Presence at the...
Oh, aye.
Was it? Tam Aware done his ankle. Jim Duffy's fitness test with him was like a ball in the middle of the two of them, and Jim's got one knee. He's still just like, kick that. No, but he was brilliant. I really liked playing under him.
Aye.
And it was ideal. It was my hometown and that, and it was something that I was hoping to stay there a couple of years and finish it, but things changed and I was out the door.
Who was playing with Morton at that time? Who was your championship?
Championship, so you had Thistle, Ross Forbes, Jai Kutongo, I think Big Tam Aware, Ricky Alami.
Give you a chuckle that one, didn't she? Cheeks lighting up there.
Obviously, we're going to touch on life after football. I mean, what is it? What are you doing now?
Absolutely winging it daily, Tam. Right. So I'm a procurement specialist for a company called Scotland Excel.
Right.
And that's as far as we'll go, so I don't get found. Just so I don't get found out at work on Monday.
How difficult was it leaving football and
I think
having to go into the real world, so to speak?
It's one that I think if I'd been like 27, 28 and I was told, right, that's you, I'd have been gutted, but by that point I was like, right, time to go.
For that next.
Not excited because it's like I was lucky enough to go into a decent job and learn as you go. I'm quite lucky. Most of my jobs, I'm just speaking to people and blagging. Right. But it's one that I knew it was always coming for me that I was going to have to go to get a job. And again, you do what you've got to do. And
do you think more should be done for the PFA? And
I've always said more should be done. Like I get the PFA are trying, and there's like tailored courses and stuff like that on, but who wants to finish playing football like going to be a tailor? Like, you should be forcing boys at 23, 24 to get some qualifications, get things behind them. Clubs should do more. I feel like, obviously, if you're a club and you want to leave, loyalty's a thing, whereas the club can get rid of you in a heartbeat. They don't look after you, so they should be doing more to make sure that once your career's finished, which could be in a year, which could be in 5 years, there should be more done to make sure that you've got something to go to.
No, I totally get the psychology of that. Did you get any help in terms of that?
No,
nothing.
None.
Just on your own.
Yeah, that's it.
Still got a job and support your family.
Yeah, that's it.
Scotland.
I think in terms of the PFA courses I have seen over the last 2 years, there's a lot of different things that they're obviously they are trying to take steps forward. I think in terms of the clubs helping you, we've all been at clubs. There's a very slim chance of that happening. I think they probably would say with the hours that you finish training that, especially if you're full time, that there's hours there for you to go, and if you wanted to look at something else, people have done it over the past. So I think I don't disagree. I just don't think. Can you see the clubs? Could you imagine that the clubs got a way to really do that?
I think maybe more
at that
just
time
you're only focused week to week, game to game.
So that's part of it's difficult as well.
I think you need people in there to.
That's what I mean about like the clubs should be forcing you to do these things. Like you're finishing training at 1:30 as a 19, 20-year-old. You shouldn't be allowed to just go and do what you want.
Yeah.
That should be a right. You're going to go and do this.
Yeah.
Courses and stuff.
Like it shouldn't be a right. You're a first team player now, right? On you go. Like you should be forced to go and do something.
What you got to do when you chuck it, Gals? I know you've still got your sign on fee for Shandong. You just
he's going to go in and create that role at Hearts, isn't he? He's going to sort all the courses.
Trying to promote it from the PFA and shuffle right in there, but
Kuwait, you played in Kuwait as well, didn't you?
Yep.
I think you could retire.
Kuwait City?
You must have meant it.
Great City, yeah.
Big dough over there.
That's right. John Obi Mikel took all my. Remember Mikel from Chelsea? Yeah, he was my. We got signed on the same day. So there's like all these photographers just taking a picture of him. There's just me on the side. Just hey guys.
I can use an interpreter.
Can you get his bag?
What about you, Scott? What are you going to do when you finish playing? Any coaching or media stuff?
Yeah, stuff.
You get something in your mind that you're.
Yeah, I've not really divulged into that as such yet. I'm just still enjoying playing and obviously the coaching side and doing my media thing. So hopefully it's a smooth transition.
Right, no, I'm just asking.
How about you?
Just doing what I'm doing. I'm winging it like Gary. Winging this show. No, listen, it's been absolutely. Apart from the cup final, it should be your most special time in football.
Obviously the Dundee thing, and I was just inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of months ago. So it was quite a wee high five for myself for that one. And my mum and dad got to come through for the dinner and stuff.
Right.
Managed to have a couple of beers and drop my award on the stage though, and it smashed everywhere. So that was that probably summed up my time as a.
That's fantastic. Also inducted that night, just sure. Was it the
Me and a few fossils. A few people hadn't heard of.
Is there a game in your career that sticks in your mind where you thought, I was unbelievable that game?
Played a game when I was at Oldham against Peterborough, and we were 3-0 down at half time, and Lee put me out left mid.
Was Lee Johnson your manager?
Lee Johnson was my manager, and we ended up winning 5-4. I scored 2 and set up 3, and I had people, like one of the coaches, come up to me after the game just like, that's unbelievable. What have you been doing? Why are you at Oldham? I think Wee Swanee was playing that. I nutmegged him on one byline. Flip 4-1 down. It was just one of those games, just anything I did.
Everything went for you?
Everything, absolutely everything. Like second half, just anything I did just come off.
So just before we wrap up, obviously I think the best player you played against was Gerrard.
Gerrard,
played with.
I'd probably go with 2 guy ability wise. Like he was unbelievable. Like it would be one like you'd be training, and he'd give the ball away, say in a possession box or like even like in a possession game, and the whole place would stop. Just like, is he all right? Like what's just happened? Like the training's done. Like everybody, it's done. Like he was just that good. Probably him.
Who's the other one?
Well, Ferguson was there at the time. From probably been up the road. I don't know. I'd have Gary Irvine in any team that I picked. I think.
Who's your pal?
Just because he's my pal. Basically.
He's a good player.
No, he was everything that you wanted as a teammate.
Aye.
Like,
Good fullback,
put
man.
yourself like on the line. That's why he's as ugly as what he is now.
Right, before you go, Gaz, you must have a good dressing room story from us before you go.
Wouldn't I've not told you already?
One you've not told us. On the spot here. Have you got a funny dressing room story or something that happened at a...
Christmas night out.
Oh no, they've got to stay in the Christmas night out, unfortunately. No, we used to, when I was at Dundee, me and Big Craig McEwen, obviously, do you remember Big Craig?
Aye, centre half.
So we'd gone
Meathead.
well, and it was like, obviously, it is a meathead, but that's just the most polite guy in the world ever. But we used to play a few pranks, and remember we had Chizzy in. So Chizzy used to, like, his knees were shot, so he couldn't wear like boots or anything, so he wore these like waterproof North Face trainer things, and he used to wear them down to training every day. So me and Craig have seen them sitting outside his office one day, super glued them to the floor, like proper super glued them. The next minute all you hear is him trying to get into them. In the dressing room he comes, "Used to!" Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Chiz, that was it. But we did a few things like that there, it was good.
Brilliant. No, listen, we could talk about Hatate, Gary. He's a fantastic player, great career, and thanks for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.
And thanks for the viewers for watching. I hope you can like and subscribe to the PLZ YouTube channel, and cheers.